Hello, everybody. It's Lenny Murphy, and I am here with another one of our CEO series of interviews. And today I am talking to Gary Laben, CEO of Dynata. Well, Gary, how are you?
I'm doing great today. Thank you for having me, Lenny.
It's a pleasure, absolutely a pleasure. So let's go ahead and just get something out of the way, because I'm sure that listeners will be saying, "Oh, he's talking to Gary. Is there an announcement pending?" And there is not an announcement pending. So I'll let you take it from there.
Well, thanks, Lenny. We always have announcements pending. So to be clear on that, there's all sorts of things that we're doing, and I would hope that even over the next couple of weeks, folks will learn about some of the new products and services that are part of those announcements. Having said that, I think the one to which you are specifically referring, I really don't have anything to say about. Most, everything that you've read is rumors and speculation. It's not produced by us. We're humbled by the fact that there's a great deal of interest in the business in terms of what's going on. I think it reflects the fact that we've grown and through that growth have done quite well. And it certainly would mean that the industry, the sector, and those in and alongside it would be interested in capitalizing on that. But everything that you've seen so far is really kind of speculation on that at this point in time.
Fair enough. And when there's not speculation, I assume that you'll let us know and we can.
You will be among the first that we will dial up to
Okay.
inform you what's going on.
All right. Good to know. But that is a good segue because you make a good point. Obviously there's a lot of interest and buzz around the future of the industry as a whole, and particularly for a large player like Dynata. I mean, you're no longer simply a sample company, right? If we look at the uh, just from a basis of revenue, you'd be in the top 5, 6 global players within the category. And that is a significant achievement. So why don't we talk about that a little bit? So, how did we get to this point where the company is now such a significant integral component of the entire global market research ecosystem, and not just for sample, but for lots of other stuff?
Sure. Thanks for that. And I think that as you referenced, I mean, the proud sort of legacy of the companies that formed Dynata over the last 40 years, 20 with Legacy Research now, and frankly 40 with Legacy SSI, invented many parts of the data-driven space of market research. And that really serves as sort of the foundation and the backbone for who we are and what we're doing today. Um, and really what that is about. When I came to the company about a little over 3 years ago, I realized that we were sitting on this incredible first-party data asset, and we needed to continue to curate and grow it to realize its value in the core market research sector, but that we could amortize that data across the entire marketing services continuum, from media to advertising to activation and CRM, and create wonderful products and services for our clients who are partaking of it in market research, who would also be the same clients in the other areas that we're extending to, because anybody who's doing market research with us is also interested in obviously using and capitalizing on those insights for their marketing growth as well. And so I realized that we had a great opportunity to do that, to provide incremental value to our clients. And so we set about a goal back a couple of years ago to derive about 30 to 40% of our revenue beyond sort of the traditional data-driven market research sector where we found or where we established our roots. And to do that by the end of 2020, we're about 16 months away. And we're about 25% of that 40%. So we'll eclipse the 30, the low end, and hopefully we'll get to that sort of ultimate goal of diversity. And speaking of which, if you think about that from a personal investor standpoint, there's always talk about diversification. And so being able to amortize our assets and diversify where those assets can be used is very valuable to the organization in and of itself. And then finally to our employees, being able to participate in new areas of growth, both professionally in terms of the things that our employees are able to do across sort of all of marketing, not only in market research, is really sort of what that journey is about. And like I said, I think we're well on our way and showing the results on track that we've sort of established for that goal.
So when I think about the kind of the marketing life cycle, it falls into three buckets. And I always think of it as engage, understand, and activate. Those are kind of, the big high level pieces. And research has traditionally obviously worked within the understand component. But what I hear from you is you're using terms like marketing services, is that the vision for Dynata is to actually be a data-driven component of that entire life cycle to engage, understand, and activate. Is that a pretty fair summation?
No, absolutely. And kind of going back to that a little bit, my perspective on that is if the underlying data that drives each of those activities, engage, understand, and activate, can be sort of held constant. We can use the same data to drive in some way, shape, or form each of those activities. Then you've got to assume that the output will be better because we've held constant a lot of things that heretofore have been very, very much variable, using different data for each of those activities. And if that's the most important or one of the most important components to any of those areas, then to be able to use the same components and to move them across each of those areas, I think is super valuable to the output of each of those areas, and frankly to the unification of those areas as marketers go forward and compete in their own very competitive marketplaces.
So we've had a lot of conversations over the past year, you and I, about the idea of integrated data and how that data can be used and what does that mean for the future and how the world's changing, regarding personal data. And you've made some really interesting moves over the past year where you patented a model around the data graph of linking, first-party data, individual level data across multiple data sources. Your marketplace functionality that you've launched to be able to access that integrated data graph. Tell me a little more about what the plans are in building off of that, not just in this kind of marketing services universe, but also specifically in powering new research capabilities that traditionally a company like Dynata didn't necessarily do. But now you're with the Critical Mix acquisition, you have more assets. What's that look like?
So, and thanks for that segue. The acquisition earlier this year of Reimagine and its associated companies, which include Critical Mix and several others, really was a way for us to take our business, which is, I'd say, rather, historically rather services based, and to productize many of those components so that our clients can accomplish a number of things. Not the least of which is sort of speed and simplification and automation. And so we're on a journey to take each and every one of our services and sort of address it in those ways, and either increase the access to it, simplify how you can get access to it, so that our clients can benefit from that even quicker than they have in the past. One of those areas is using AI to drive our sort of product delivery. And so you referenced some of the things, some of the ways potentially in which we are doing that. And for example, using AI to help drive the outcome of projects. Imagine, for example, the things that we're working on now around Alexa-based interviews. And that's sort of a start, but even that goes further by having someone do something like that and transferring that interview in real time through our voice services division, so that in the midst of that you can get a phone call and finish up the rest of that interview if you are a member in one of our panels. And so we think that those kinds of experiences will produce even better results for our clients going forward. One of the things that we're working on, you referenced as part of our marketplace, which is is the programmatic platform to access all of our data. It's the only place to access programmatically all of the Dynata data alongside the rest of the industry's data. That marketplace is really part of an even larger launch later this quarter, which is our Insights platform. And so our Dynata Insights platform is really about connecting all of our products and services in an end-to-end single sign-on fashion so that our clients can get access to each and every part of our service offering in one place and connect, and the output of one can feed the input of the next. And so for us, we think that's the the next generation of what we want to go do for our clients.
Very cool. Well, you're in good company, right? The Kantar's moving in that direction, obviously. Companies like Zappi. Back in the day, though, this may be before your time. GMI, they tried that many years ago, and they couldn't pull it off. And I think, and so I bring that up. One is just be careful we don't duplicate the past. Everybody, let's recognize that. But secondarily, that takes a culture shift from a buyer standpoint. The ecosystem is set up as an ecosystem. You get your sample from here, you collect your data here, your analysis is done here. So do you see resistance to that vision of why can't you be the Google or the Apple, right? The one single sign-on, one ecosystem to rule them all model in research.
And so you're right, and I think historically, as I've been here over the last few years, the resistance I've actually seen hasn't been from our clients, but mechanically from our competitors, sort of talking about the resistance that we might face. When we bring these opportunities in front of our clients, I think they're very eager to take advantage of them. In fact, many of our clients are informing the very nature of the products and services that I've described in terms of how they're built and how we're delivered. At the end of the day, our clients really want it faster. They want it simplified so that they can take advantage of it. We have had a long-standing relationship with clients across all channels of distribution, not only market research agencies, but resellers of our data, and especially the brands directly themselves. This isn't anything new, but it's something that is very fast growing for us, because I think clients of all types are seeing the availability of some of these products and services and saying, this can make my life easier. And so we don't see much sort of resistance at all around the uptake in this from any of our client channels. Some of our clients are, as I said, they redistribute, so they might want a white labeled version of whatever I might be describing here, and others want maybe a little bit more of a service layer applied to it. So a lot of our products are DIY, but we have a DIFM, do it for me layer, at least, if not forever, even just to get started with many of our clients who aren't quite yet ready to ingest sort of or shoulder the responsibility all on their own.
Yep. I think it's a mandatory requirement. I've been using the term managed services a lot lately with and kind of trying to describe that model of the service organization that must exist, because sometimes clients just want somebody to push the button.
We have a number of clients, as you've referenced, and I don't even see in their future anything but a managed service layer between our products and their receipt of them, and because that's the way that their organization is set up to do that, and we'll continue to support that for forever, as long as there is uptake and client demand for that.
All right, so I want to be conscious of time. So three questions, I guess. First, what are you most excited about over the course of the next year? What do you think that this is the thing that is just going to blow everybody's socks off?
Well, I referenced it earlier, so maybe I already gave the big reveal, but our Insights platform for me is really the beginning of that culmination, where we are able to place the access to each of our what has been sort of discrete sort of service offerings in one layer, where our clients can really take advantage of them. And it's not just about automation, it's also about taking advantage of products that have been optimized for market research and passing the results of that down to activation activities within our platform. And so that's something that, as I said, in the fourth quarter, end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, we'll roll out and we'll continue to iterate on that platform. I would say in a more macro sense, the thing that gets me excited all the time is there isn't a decision that I can think of in business today that isn't driven by or required to ingest data to make it. And sitting at the center of all of this data and of this kind of data that's had a rich legacy of being used for all of these data-driven decisions is sort of the sweet spot. And I couldn't be more excited about all the things that we are doing and that we can do with that. It's really just incredible to be able to do that and to harness that across the entire marketing services spectrum. And from a micro standpoint, if you will, I'm just thrilled about what we've been able to do with the business. And so as you referenced right back a few years ago, there were a whole lot of separate companies, much different in size or scale, focused on individual things. And we've really been able to create a different organization. And I tip of the hat to the 5,000 associates around the world at Dynata who have been able to come together, not only integrate this business, but to create a wonderful unified culture that makes it just incredibly fun to come to work, because we're driving forward and continuing to build something that not only is bigger, but more importantly is broader and better for our clients.
Okay. So what keeps you up at night?
I think what I worry about, at least, or think about, particularly when I'm going to bed, is sort of the changing landscape around security and privacy. So just before we got on this phone call, you may have seen the release from Google about updating your Chrome browser because there's some apparent security problems with it. So we have 2 billion people around the world over the weekend are going to have to go do that. And it's certainly a reminder to all of us about the obligation that we have as stewards of our members' data. And I think there's really three pieces to that. There's trust, there's experience, and really there's value that we try to provide for our members. And without our members, we have nothing. It's not just the three-legged stool of customers and employees and shareholders. We have a four-legged stool in this business, of course, which includes our members, folks who provide their data and their insights to help drive our business. And so in terms of trust, it's really about, I stay up at night making sure and worrying about making sure that we're doing exactly what we say we're going to do. Some of our members only want to be involved with us for certain types of activities like market research. Others want to do everything, including marketing and everything in between, and making sure that we ingest and protect and offer and make their data available only for the purposes for which they've agreed. Experience is huge too. So making sure that there's an efficient process in place. The user experience has to be one where it's not only respectful, but it's also it's quick, not asking the same questions of our members time after time after time, remunerating them in timely fashion for their insights and for their time, and ultimately, the piece that I also stay awake about at night, and part of this equation is value. So creating that value exchange and making sure that consumers feel rewarded and valued for the time and ultimately for the value of their insights that we're providing ultimately to brands who are trying to make decisions, and making sure, if you will, that scale is balanced at all times. I've seen in the industry over the last year some incredibly low pricing, which doesn't strike me first as a competitive issue. It really comes at the heart of making sure are we doing the right thing for the member? Are we doing the right thing for the value and being respectful of the value that any given member is providing? And so that sort of area, and as you've seen, often through legislation, and both in Europe and upcoming next year in California, and frankly probably and likely throughout the rest of the US, there's a lot of call to action to ensure that this is done. And we need to, a healthy combination of legislation and self-regulation, I think, is important.
Well, preaching to the choir, as you know, I know some guys that are working on these same challenges. So uh,
The more the merrier, I think, in this regard. We all can work together to create a better environment for the longevity and the success of this industry.
yeah, a rising tide floats all boats. So totally agree.
Amen.
All right. So last question, holiday weekend. What are you doing this weekend?
Not much. I travel to our offices and to our clients. My wife thinks it's about 100% of the time. I'll say I live in Dallas, and she'll dispute that. She doesn't see me all that much, and so I like to kind of be home for the weekend for my wife and my son. Sometimes she greets me at the door with a bag packed, however, ready to go. She loves to travel, so we dispute that a little bit. So this weekend is just fun with the family and a couple other families who are coming over to enjoy the Texas heat.
That's great. That's great. Well, enjoy. Thank you for your time. This was great. Always a pleasure. And look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Look forward to seeing and speaking with you soon. Thanks again for your time, Lenny.
No problem, Gary. Thank you.
Bye now.